It's not a bad thing to feel those emotions, to feel vulnerable, to feel scared of the future. You can embrace the fear. It's acknowledging the fear and still doing it is like the essence of courage. And for me, that's what I really learned. Now visualize yourself walking into a place where you want to feel brave and confident. Hello, thanks for joining me. I'm Olivia, and I'm so happy to welcome you back to the Magical You podcast by Catrice. On the podcast today, we're going to be talking about courage. First off, let's align on what we mean by courage, as it can mean different things to different people. Essentially, what courage means is having the strength of the mind to enable you to face difficult and sometimes scary things without giving into fear. It's bravery. But it doesn't have to be running into a burning building or facing off with a lion kind of brave. It can be speaking out against wrongdoing you observed and standing up for others. Or trying something new that you know is going to be tough and a big personal challenge. But not letting that put you off. I'm ready to start my makeup routine, and as I do so, I want to share a quote with you that I heard in a video I watched and which I really found inspiring, and that also gave me a slightly different perspective on courage than I think we normally see. Vulnerability is not winning or losing, it's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome, by Brené Brown. Now, Brené is a professor and author in courage and vulnerability, and why they are so connected are subjects she has widely researched. If you're interested in learning more from her, I would absolutely encourage you to watch some of her brilliant TED Talks on the subject. One thing that really stood out for me from one of those talks was that she told the origins of the word courage. And apparently it means to tell the story of who you are with your whole heart. I absolutely loved that definition, as I think authentically telling your own story can be scary and leave you feeling exposed and vulnerable, but it is also a brave thing you can do, and it really helps you feel empowered. Something that makes me feel empowered is wearing my favorite colors that I know totally suit me. So today I'm going for a punchy, joyful pink look. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is actually how being vulnerable can be the biggest way to show your courage in life. With the topic of vulnerability, it has kind of a negative connotation again. And it's always like a bad thing to refer to you as being vulnerable, or feeling a bit like, in a sense, just vulnerability in general is like, oh, okay. But it is the biggest way to show that you are being courageous in your life and taking the steps to make you a better person. I always think of this phrase as well. It's like seek discomfort, seek vulnerability, because it's the best way to make you grow and learn who you are as a person. And, you know, I have had times in my life when I've felt super out of the depths. And of course, the biggest example for that for me was when I moved to Germany. And actually, it wasn't the part of when I was in Germany that I was feeling vulnerable. It was kind of the whole 3 months leading up to the big move, when I really was like, I don't know if this is right for me. I was just overthinking everything. And of course, my mom had to hear everything. She let me know that it's not a bad thing to feel those emotions, to feel vulnerable, to feel scared of the future. You can embrace the fear. It's acknowledging the fear and still doing it is like the essence of courage. And for me, that's what I really learned in the months that I was preparing to move to Germany. And it was so overhyped in my head, like, oh, what if I hate it? And I was so scared, but when I got to Germany, it kind of all worked out. And I was doing a job I loved. I loved my apartment. I found some friends. Sometimes the build-up and feeling vulnerable is the worst part. But if you really embrace that, when it actually comes time to do the thing that you were feeling vulnerable about, or just the time, the job, the career, the event that you were feeling vulnerable about, sometimes just taking the step to say, oh, I'm going to do it. And when you actually do it, the courage is there already. And actually being vulnerable about something means that you care. It shows that you have putting a lot of thought into something. It shows that you have a lot of emotion tied to that specific topic or event or person. And again, don't feel sorry for feeling things. You're allowed to feel your emotions. You're allowed to feel sad. You're allowed to feel anything. And you just really embrace the vulnerability, because when you do so and come over it, you really have grown as a person and worked on being more courageous. And a big part of my life that constantly kind of makes me question my courage and kind of makes me feel a bit vulnerable at time is my job being as a content creator and being online so often. It takes a lot of courage some days when you're not feeling your best or your skin is not perfect, and it's a lot of comparing yourself to what society deems is acceptable. It takes a lot of courage and self kind of empowerment to be like, no, this is how I look. It's natural. It's so common to have not perfect skin all the time. So I'm still going to do the video. You know, someone out there is actually going to look at the video and be like, oh, wow, she actually has skin like me, not perfect skin. There's always comments I find when I do look at the comments that they appreciate it. And I always revert back to thinking of those comments, that someone that doesn't have perfect skin or is struggling with their own insecurities and sees me kind of owning it and not shying away from it is going to appreciate that at the end of the day. Again, I spoke about this in a previous episode, whereas younger Livy, little Livy, would have really loved to watch someone in this position with not perfect skin or just owning the way they look. So for me, I get courage and gain courage a lot when I think of that mindset. And of course, when there is negative comments, I try not to look at it. I try not to really be surrounded by it and focus on the positives. I am a really positive person, but if you're not, again, don't go diving into the comments. Don't go looking for negativity. Stick to the positives in your life and the people that give you that positive boost, the people around you, your colleagues, your friends. That is kind of how I get the courage every day, or gain the courage when I'm feeling a bit vulnerable on my day-to-day job. And a part in my life that I can see now looking back that I showed quite a lot of courage when I was quite young was when I started my YouTube channel when it was just before my 16th birthday, so I was 15. I was obsessed with YouTube. And I was like, do you know what? I think I would really enjoy doing that myself. So despite all my friends being like, oh, are you going to do that? I did it, and I loved doing it every weekend. I would sit in my room, and it's quite weird because you talk to yourself basically with a camera. I'm really grateful for little Livy again doing that and being really courageous because it got me and it led me to be where I am today. I would never have found my love for content creation or film and television if it weren't for me having the courage to start my little YouTube channel when I was 16. Something that always kind of pops in my head when I think about being courageous and having courage is actually from Cinderella. And it also goes back to me as a younger girl loving anything to do with princesses. And Cinderella was just obviously, she looked like me. I had blonde hair, so I loved her. And one of the quotes in her movies and just in her story is her mother telling her to have courage and be kind. It really encapsulates for me what I aspire to be. I want to have courage, and at the end of the day, I still want to be a kind and loving person. I always also say that it takes nothing to be kind. It costs someone nothing to make someone else's day a little bit better. And for me, when I'm having a tough day or I'm in a terrible mood. We always have those days, and that's okay. But I always have that little voice of Cinderella's mother and just the whole Cinderella story of have courage and be kind. So you don't need to be a content creator to experience negative comments. It's something that is quite common with social media in general. So I'm going to take you through some tips on how you can deal with it. So the first one is don't focus on the negative comments. And I'm speaking from experience. It is really hard to ignore them and not focus on them and not only remember the negative. I know I've done that before where there's 10 comments and there's one that is a negative comment. And I remember the negative comment way more than the 9 amazing comments of support. It's maybe just how our brains work, but I would really, really recommend you to read the positive comments more and just try forget and not linger on the negative comment. And so celebrate milestones and achievements in your life and focus on that, focus on the positive. Once again, it's a real mind changer, but you will really see the benefits when you do so. And also you can look at it in a way where some comments can, if you read it quickly, can be negative, but if you actually really take it in, it can be seen as constructive criticism. And I would really recommend you thinking about that and taking that in, because I always find it as a main point for me to grow and learn and become better. So I would also recommend you to take constructive feedback when you can. Don't take it too personally. That is the whole thing. It's to better yourself, and it's not really attack on yourself, more just someone looking out for you, be like, you can do this in a better way. You can maybe learn more about this part. Just in general about life, like it's always just good to be constantly learning. And it also takes courage to know that you don't know everything and to really accept that and be like, actually, I don't know that. I would love to learn. And especially as we get older, I find that it's like, it's a bit harder to get into that learning mindset. So there's another place that you can use courage in, and don't be afraid to acknowledge that you have space to learn and work on yourself. And another way to deal with negative comments is to picture yourself in their shoes, per se. They're probably going through something and they're kind of taking it out on you, leaving negative comments. So it kind of gives you a different perspective on focusing on the negative comment. Just maybe think about, maybe the person's not having the best time in their life and they have some negative impacts in their life. So really think about the person that's saying the things, and it kind of gives you, it takes the negativity away from you, per se, and gives you a bigger picture of maybe why they said those things. And it can help you realize that everyone's going through something. Everyone experiences negativity or issues in their life. And it might help you put it into perspective that way, and to not focus on the negativity they might bring into your life. For me, it makes it feel like it's not as big of a negative comment, or it's like, okay, they're going through their own stuff. Don't let that affect me. And at the end of the day, it's their problem, and it's not your problem. It's not my problem. It's something they have to work through and work on, and it's not affecting my life. And the last thing is, always remember your worth and why you're doing something. Does it bring you happiness? Is it your passion? Always focus on your purpose in life, and that will bring you happiness, hopefully. This has been such a therapeutic subject to talk about. I think we all need to try find the courage to be more vulnerable in our lives. It can not only teach us a lot about ourselves, but also bring us closer to others and encourage them to share their stories with their whole hearts too. Let's do a meditation together that will help us find the courage to be authentic and brave in any challenging situation we might face. Find a quiet space where you can sit comfortably. Close your eyes and take deep breaths, in through your nose and out through your mouth, allowing yourself to relax and settle into the meditation. Take a moment to center yourself and continue to focus on your breathing. Now visualize yourself walking into a place where you want to feel brave and confident. You're walking with grace, trusting in your abilities, and knowing that you are worthy of success regardless of the outcome. Allow this meditation to anchor you in courage and resilience as you navigate any challenges you encounter on your journey. Meditation like this definitely helps me focus and face situations where I might feel vulnerable with courage and positivity. Make a note of this and try using it next time you're going into a situation where you want to feel brave and strong. Well, I am feeling courageous and ready to go out and embrace the day ahead, so I just need a spritz of setting spray. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Magical You podcast by Catrice. I love to hear how you are feeling and how the meditations inspired you, so please get in touch and tell me what courage it inspired in you. Just a reminder to join me again next Tuesday, where we're talking about growth with the quote, "The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be," from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Have a wonderful day.